Hey, White Sox fans, it is Southside Sox Mothership Podcast number 47. Look at this group of people I got with me. I guess unless you're watching, you can't see, but well, trust me, they're here and you're going to hear from them real soon. We have the full, once again, as always, the full Indianapolis contingent. The field office is well represented with Chrystal O'Keefe. Sadly, her winning streak in coverage has recently been snapped, and she's going to start a new one awfully quick. And it's Sox Math Champion. What a story. Just casually strolling down the street, doing a little window shopping. He's shopping for Sox Math, catches a Sox Math question and decides, hey, I'm going to solve it. Boom, solved. Sox Math Champ, Super Joseph Resis with us. That makes up the Indianapolis field office. Live from the storage locker in the Chicagoland area, it is Darren Black. He is joining us. Normally, we only see him, we let him into a regular White Sox podcast. Believe it or not, he's got things to say about the White Sox as well, not just the minors. And also representing the ET, it's Tommy Barbee, close to me, my dear neighbor just in the north, hopping on for us. Okay, let's get right to it. Enough with this nonsense. I'm Brett. How you doing? Okay, White Sox got creamed over the weekend. 4 losses. None of them really close, but one. That's not great. Houston has sort of leapfrogged them as the best team in the American League, if we're going to go by this day-to-day sort of thing. White Sox run differentials fallen to 4th in baseball, obviously 2nd in the American League now, still well in hand the Central Division. They're still projected to win the Central Division by about 20 games. That's great, but right now we got some butt hurt from getting whooped in Houston. It was not even close. It was pretty sad, in fact. All of you saw it. Some of you even solved and won Sox Math during this series. So I got nothing more to say about it. What do you guys think about this last weekend? Panic button, depression button, getting healthy off of Pittsburgh and Seattle button. What is it?
I'm all on team don't freak out. It's June. Who cares right now? Let's just beat them when it truly does matter. And let's just make other teams cry right now because, our stretch coming up, they're not, well, actually, Pirates surprisingly haven't been that bad lately. But I think it'll be an easy, week. And then who cares? It doesn't matter right now.
Okay, so you're sort of a hair of the dog approach here where it's like, okay, this was ugly, but let's just dive right into what is going to be a very promising week. Promises to be a nice week unless Pittsburgh decides to pull what they did against Cleveland.
Yes.
All right. Other approaches from the rest of you?
Yes. First of all, thank you for the very kind introduction. That was very, very excellent.
You live for my introductions, Joe. You live for them.
Yes, very much. I enjoy them every time. I'm also on team don't press the panic button. Except for Yermin, I would press the panic button on him. He needs help. I would send him down to Charlotte soon. He was a great story for the first few weeks of the season, but right now he just does not look like a player who is capable of holding a spot on a major league roster. Certainly not as a designated hitter, but yeah, even if he was at a position that was, a more premium position, his bat just hasn't been up to par lately. And I don't know, pitchers have made adjustments to him, and he just hasn't been able to make them back. But overall, looking at the team from a macro perspective, I would certainly not push the panic button right now. They're still first in the AL Central, and things are looking good overall.
Okay, Joe, I'm detecting a schism in the Indianapolis field office. I think you and Chris are going to have a sidebar discussion while I push it over to Tommy and Darren, because I think there could be hands thrown over the Yermin diagnosis, but we'll let Chrystal acknowledge that as well. Tommy, Darren, solve this for us, please.
Yeah, so I'm just basically looking at it as they did pretty well against Toronto, they did pretty well against Tampa, and then they finally had a terrible stretch of games, probably the first ones since the beginning of the season when we were all like, this team might actually be bad, and we were afraid of that, right. But then they went on a run and kind of solved all that. And definitely looking at their schedule coming up, it definitely seems like this past weekend can solve itself pretty quickly, though Minnesota has been a bit better as well, along with Pittsburgh. But the same old things that are bad are still bad. The bullpen still kind of bad. The hitting still kind of bad, but they still have figured it out whenever they needed to and got something out of anybody. And I'd still see that happening in the future.
Yeah, I'm not pessimistic, but I do think that we have to see what happens with the White Sox this week, because how they recover from a series like that is going to dictate the rest of the kind of the trajectory of the season for me, because this was the first series where all of the little things that, you know, we all nagged about with this team throughout the season, whether it be injuries, depth, bullpen, offensive performance, all of that kind of came to full fruition in this series. And this is what good teams do, is they exploit all of those issues that teams have. And it's great that they can beat the bad teams, but if they want to go far in the playoffs, this is the stuff that they have to figure out. And I don't want to be a naysayer, but at the same time, Tony La Russa only has so much bench magic that he can work out with the guys that he's kind of throwing together in these lineups on a day-to-day basis. So I think some things were exposed, and I hope that the Sox are able to figure out ways to kind of cover that up as the season goes on. But I wouldn't just chalk it up as one bad series. There were a lot of issues here.
Yeah, Tommy, you hit it, and Darren sort of alluded to it. We're talking almost about two teams now. It's not a matter of, okay, is this team going to be above 500? Is this team going to be in the playoff hunt? Now there's this different level where it's like, there's a pad in this division. Of course, nothing is figured out, but realistically, the Central Division sucks. The White Sox should have this division.
Yep.
Now it's, what do you do when you face Houston in the playoffs? What are you doing when you see the Rays again? And we are attacking the season now sort of with those two different angles, because it's not just a matter of, all right, we're going to win enough to make the playoffs and win this division. That's not in hand, but that's sort of one path. I don't think anybody should be panicking about that. But then this other path of, well, what do you do once you get there? We saw what happened, last year, where it was like a free for all, flip a coin, you get in the playoffs. And, it was exciting that the White Sox were in the playoffs, but, we saw it happen there. We'd rather not have that happen in the first round again, especially if the White Sox, may even have like a home field advantage in that first round.
Exactly.
So we are having to sort of attack this on these two different angles. Chrystal, I want to give you a chance to defend your guy here, me.
I don't know how much you can defend him right now. I mean, like, it breaks my heart every single time I have to put him as a cold cat in that poll. I'm like, this is not, no, he was too good. What is happening? And you, as much as I just want to be like, well, it's Tony La Russa, it's just his issue. He broke him. That's not the truth. We all know that's not actually the truth. So I don't know how I can defend him right now. He needs to go down to Charlotte for a little bit and get out of this funk, because I do think some of it is mental, but at the same time, he's been figured out and he just needs to go and reassess what's happening so he can come back and continue to smash balls.
Yeah, this is the first year we've done what we're doing in terms of the voting. So of course that coincides with you hopping on the six-pack, Cheryl. So sorry to put you through the Chrystal, Cheryl. Hey, Cheryl, how you doing? Nice to see you. Good to see you in Indianapolis. That's Cheryl O'Keefe in Indianapolis. Okay, anybody else want to host? At any rate, this is the first time we're doing this, so we haven't really tracked these MVPs. We haven't tracked the Cold Cats, and Jose Abreu is sort of like dabbled in both lists. But Yermin went from commanding; he was like the MVP the first 3 weeks in the season, and now he's on the Cold Cats list. Nobody has made that sort of like fall ever. Of course, it's just this season, but it has been a pretty sad story. And the notion that he may need just a little bit of a reset in Charlotte, I don't think is making anybody crazy, even if maybe who you're bringing up from Charlotte isn't necessarily a better gamble. It just does seem like Yermin is really out of whack.
Yeah, he needs a break. Like, I have no regret. Somebody said on Twitter earlier, I saw they're like, I bet all these people are regretting their like jersey or shirt purchase. And I was like, not regretting it. Like, what he did for the fan base in that, first almost 2 months was insane. So I have no regrets on that. He's an incredible player. He's stuck right now.
There are people that still wear Daniel Polka jerseys. I don't know why anyone would feel bad about wearing something with Yerminator on it. I mean,
someone in the reply, they were like, I bought a Jeff Samardzija jersey. So.
Yeah.
Innocuous White Sox jerseys are very much a thing that I don't think anybody would ever discount someone for.
And there's a big difference between
still have my Dayan Viciedo jersey.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between the $400 authentic and like the jersey too. So I mean, it also depends on how hard you've gone in for your mean, based on his delicious hamburger and beer and his mashing for 6 weeks or whatever. Okay, we have already begun to try to solve this team as if it really needs to be solved. I think hopefully we've provided. That's what you turn to Southside Sox for: calm in times of panic, steady hand, logic. Consistency, getting guests' names wrong, all of that stuff. We're going to take a quick break while I can just bite my tongue, and we are going to try to solve what's going on with the White Sox, little tweaks that might be made. We're going to go round table on that and see what the White Sox need to do from here to sort of get back, aside from just playing the lane teams coming up in the schedule. We'll be back in just a second. Hey, we're back. It was just a second. We are back with Southside Sox Mothership Podcast number 47. Joining me, of course, is my good friend, Cheryl O'Keefe in Indianapolis. Great friend of mine. We're very close. She likes to go by the name Chrystal, but, I just call her what I want. Hey, Darren Black from the Storage Locker. I'm giving him trouble about the Storage Locker, but I'm going to just keep going with it because I like it. Representing his minors podcast appearance with Charlotte, right?
Yeah, the only team that didn't lose today.
See, there you go. Connection. We're going to see.
Didn't play.
We will probably see him tomorrow.
Still counts.
Tommy Barbee and Joseph, Super Joseph, Sox Math Champ, Resis, all joining up on the Mothership Podcast here. Now we are going to take a look at what the White Sox do need to do. We've already sort of crept into it a little bit with your mean. Maybe a change needs to happen. A little bit of fine tuning in Charlotte, at least mixing in some sort of different DH approach, because him day in, day out, batting eighth, batting third, batting second, leading off, batting twice through one time in order. None of that is working right now. He probably just needs a little bit of time. Other solutions that come to mind from any of you?
We can start by getting rid of Adam Eaton and replacing him with a ham sandwich.
All roads lead to getting rid of Adam Eaton.
That is one thing you can count on me for, is to just tell you to just cut him. And you can replace him with my 10-year-old. He just won a championship. So, I mean,
at least he's on the injured list finally. I mean, that's not a small move, given that he's been hurt. I think maybe since the second week of the season. He's been hurt for a long time. So I mean,
hopefully from the second week of the season.
I don't see that physical. So
yeah, I don't know if there's a quick fix for this team right now. I mean, I think that's the worry, at least for me, is that there are a lot of guys that, speaking of Charlotte, that I would like to see potentially get some play on the major league level to see what they have or may not have. Berger's a perfect example of that could fill in nicely for a DH role, but I don't know that you can't say that's a long-term solution. But if they need some added depth, somebody that can kind of inject some energy into this team, that's to me the quickest fix that the Sox could do.
Tommy, don't even play around. You want to see somebody from Birmingham.
I want to see Micker Adolfo. I do want to see Micker Adolfo. In the perfect world, Micker Adolfo would be here tomorrow hitting 500-foot bombs. But the world isn't quite ready for it yet. So
I appreciate that the Southside Sox account tagged Tommy in one of his updates.
Yes.
Thank you for finally joining in on that. That's our thing. That's what it's like. You have to do it. We signed a contract.
I think Tommy is predicting that the Yerminator burger is going to be replaced with the Miker burger in the second half of the season.
Pretty much.
But it's nice that you paid lip service to Jake Berger or Gavin Sheets or whatever. That's cool, but let's just cut right to it. Okay.
Yeah, ultimately.
Aside from Miker coming straight out of Birmingham, bringing some Alabama fire to the South Side, is the solution in the minor leagues? Is it just a matter of saying, hey, how about this? the rotation did show some cracks this last run through, probably for the first time this season. And maybe not really, I mean, I guess the cracks maybe are minor, but any concern there? This rotation's been extraordinarily healthy. And with guys who maybe you wouldn't have thought would be necessarily as good as they've been. Basically, almost all of them have been better than perhaps expected. Is there concern there, or did they just run into a pretty strong Houston team playing at home, even depleted offensively, just ready to break out the can of whoop ass on the White Sox?
I don't think there's concern, but with MLB saying they're cracking down on foreign substances, if there's any kind of huge drop in spin rate, you should automatically just kind of be worried. I think Lance Lynn's spin rate did fall, but he himself said that he just didn't have it that day. So I'm just going to let the veteran, just who knows his body better than anyone else, just say that he just had a bad day. And unfortunately, this rotation in Charlotte is also not having a fantastic season. Jimmy Lambert's probably the best guy. And he's obviously been up for a spot start, and he's not having a great season. Jonathan Stever has looked like a shell of himself compared to 2019 Stever, which may be player development fault for sending him from high A to MLB in last year without any kind of whatever when they were trying to find anything with all their starter injuries. But Charlotte really does not have a ton of answers for the pitching side of it. The best reliever, Tyler Johnson, has been hurt and not good. And then there's really been nothing else. Jace Fry has been looking pretty good, if you're interested in Jace Fry, but he's been around for a while and he's been uninteresting pretty quickly whenever he's been up here. So it's just kind of, they just need to go out and get somebody. Just depends on when they're going to go do it.
You're ignoring, we do this every week, the KBO's very own Mike Wright. He's ready. He's ready to solve some problems, man.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike Wright.
I don't know. We can jump into solutions on the trade front. But I think rather than specifics, because that's getting way ahead of ourselves, people.
Yeah.
I guess maybe let's take temperature of the room of what the White Sox may do. Rick Hahn has not been proven. He has not really had the opportunity. You can't count last year. Has had the opportunity to prove whether or not he is clutch at the trade deadline. Off season, when he's got a lot of assets, he's been pretty clutch. He's made some pretty nice trades, turned around really nicely for the White Sox. Under pressure, when needed, he hasn't done it yet. He does still have some time. Is it going to happen?
He'll do something. It'll probably not be up to par like as far as many White Sox fans are concerned. I think that in not too long, Eloy Jimenez will be back, and in his mind, he's kind of like almost hinted into, or like set himself up to say like, oh, okay, well, if Jimenez is back, that is a huge addition for us, even though obviously he didn't have to necessarily do anything for that to happen.
No, he did not.
I know you said nothing specific on the trade front. I do have to mention a guy who has been very much on my mind lately is Kyle Schwarber. I kind of wrote about him a little bit in the offseason and said, if I was the GM, I would strongly consider him because of the White Sox. They were obviously not very good against right-handers last year, and he just crushes the ball against right-handers. He has 17 already this year against righties alone. That number increased by 3 today, so it's a trendy time to be talking about him, I guess. But yes, his contract expires at the end of the year, but that just means his prices will be low. He plays for the Nationals, who are below 500, so who knows? It could happen. But really, someone who mashes the ball against righties would be someone who I would be targeting right now.
And it's cool, Joe. It doesn't put pressure on any of the other White Sox because he can't field either. And the White Sox are busy amassing those types of players. So no pressure on anybody else. They're always going to be like, hey, I'm the best left fielder you got because you guys just acquired Kyle Schwarber for Schwarbombs. Oh, that's cute. All right. Anything more exciting from you other three? Because Kyle Schwarber, yeah, I mean, that's out there. And okay, it's out there. Yeah, for sure.
I don't feel confident that it's going to be anybody out of the farm system. I mean, and I'm kind of in this theory that maybe it's not a good time to do any trades or bring anybody new in because you do have a bunch of players that are going to be eventually coming up. Hopefully by August, we'll have 2 of our best players back. So I just have a feeling that if Rick does anything, it's just going to be internal, and it's just going to be pulling from Charlotte until the good guys are back,
Well,
because that seems to be what they do best.
the good news is, Chrystal, aka Cheryl, I know you make churros. There's rumors of birthday cake around the house. But I think Rick Hahn has just sent you an edible arrangement. You said exactly what he wants to hear, which is, we got guys coming. They just happen to already be on our team.
That's going to be the MO. And it's like the Twilight Zone. Every year, Rick Hahn's like, oh, hey, this guy's going to come back. It's like a trade, but we didn't have to give anyone up. We didn't have to spend any money. We didn't have to do anything. They just came back, and now they're here. And it's like a trade, but it's not.
We didn't understand that the money will be spent in rehabbing the guys we already have. I get it now. There's a t-shirt.
Just laugh through the pain. Laugh through the pain.
White Sox baseball 2021. Laugh through the pain. Very nice. Very nice, Chrystal. Darren, prediction?
Yeah, so I'm just in general pretty low on the farm system. So it would have to be an expiring contract, like for Schwarber, if they were to trade somebody. But they also, like, no one is really doing that well. And they're more highly rated prospects. None of them are in the top 100, but their more highly rated ones are not doing so hot in Kannapolis, as they're 11-33. So you can kind of put apples to apples there. But really, the only guy that's actually doing well is Mike Rodolfo, and I don't think he's going to be in the majors at all this year for the White Sox. Sorry, Tommy. But if they were going to trade somebody for something this year, I think it's going to be Adolfo, because this is his last year probably in a White Sox uniform, just regardless, because this is his last year on the 40-man roster, and then he has to go through the Rule 5 draft if they keep him. And I don't think they're going to keep him, because next year they're out. If there is a next year, their outfield is already set, so they don't really need him.
And we've speculated, Darren, that there's a reason why, even though by any stretch, Miker should be, even though there's not maybe room, he should be in Charlotte. And there might be reasons he's not in Charlotte. That's because he's kicking ass in Alabama. Sort of let's just really roll with that.
Those numbers. Yeah.
He's hitting homers in a very pitcher-friendly park. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you get a team that might just want to sort of like, I don't know who exactly would think that's enough fairy dust.
Tigers, Seattle.
But
Colorado.
That's where I get a little confused, because it's like, sure, his numbers are great, but anyone that has even remotely studied what the Sox have been doing with Adolfo know that he's older. He hasn't really put it together until this season. Mm-hmm. And if you're that interested in catching lightning in a bottle, I'm almost certain there's probably other teams that might have more interesting prospects that you'd rather have for some of these guys that are going to be on the trading block. Even if we're talking about Schwarber or Jonathan Scope or any of these guys that will probably be available closer to the deadline, there will be teams lining up for anyone of true value, whether it's offensive or defensive versatility, and I don't think the Sox can compete with it from a prospect offer standpoint.
Okay, speed round. We know they're very likely to acquire some sort of relief arm, because they're just hanging out in an empty lot somewhere at this point. And of course there is a need. That's what contenders do. They're not going to grab a starting rotation arm, because the starting rotation is perfect and nothing will happen to them, right? So it probably is going to come down to, in terms of any major deal, it's going to be an infield supplement or an outfield supplement. Okay, so those are your two options, or go off the board and tell me I'm stupid, tell me I got your name wrong, and say, yeah, they're going to get a starter. Okay, speed round. Give me what your thought is, infield, outfield.
I'm going outfield, because all 3 of their plan A options heading into the season are now injured. Of course, Eaton shouldn't have been a plan A option, but that's a discussion for another day, I guess. But
It's a different podcast.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that is my answer.
Go outfield too. I mean, although I keep saying Kimberger play second base, but yeah, outfield. We just need that depth a lot more.
I'm going infield because I do not believe Berger can play any position.
Yeah, that's just it. I don't know if he can. He not only can't play second base. Yeah. I mean, it's great that Charlotte keeps like tweeting out great plays, and he's made some great plays, but it sort of ignores the fact that he's really piled up the errors. I don't know how routine the plays are, but I'm guessing on a lot of real routine plays.
Yeah, he plays third base like Moncada played second, where he makes these awesome plays, but then he's just like, well, what are you doing? And there's just too many of those, what are you doing? And we saw a lot of those, what are you doing this weekend on defense as well. So I don't want to add another guy that does that. He's got a good bat though. If they need a DH and your mean goes down, I'd be fine with that.
The team with a dozen DHs. Okay, Tommy, infield, outfield, or off the board?
Infield.
It's good. You like how I declared the speed round, even though apparently the Zoom overlords are not yelling at us yet. So we can talk for hours longer about this team that we're, still very much positive about. Again, Rick Hahn, maybe in the comments or in the actual post with this, we'll get you a PO box of the O'Keefes somewhere so you can send that edible arrangement because you owe her. Come on now, you do. Plus, you got to hire her. She's the bottle opener, yoga instructor. I mean, we figured out there's several ways that you're going to be hired by this team.
Yeah, and then I'll die there. So.
And then you're going to die there. So basically, once you're hired, you never leave. Okay, yes. The mortuary plan.
Can you be the strength and conditioning coach then? And
yeah, totally.
Like teach them some flexibility so they don't.
That's the other thing.
It's funny you say that because I was talking to my son. Like his team won the championship last week, and I was saying, hey, we should try track because you're a very fast runner. We should try track to kind of get you conditioned for baseball. And he was like, oh yeah. That's probably a good idea. I think I'll try out for that. And I was like, conditioning, I know it. I know what to do.
You are a step ahead of where the White Sox are right now.
Thank you. I'm available at White Sox, just wherever. I could probably also play second base, to be honest.
Yeah, and forget that thing about the PO box and the post. Yeah, just send the direct message to Chrystal. Get the big edible arrangement to her that way. Come on.
I'm verified now on Twitter somehow, so I'm easier to find. At me.
Ooh,
well, now.
Big leagues.
Yeah, I like how everybody on my staff, on my 800-person staff, has more followers than me.
800 people.
It's cute. It's cute, but it's okay. It's fine. I put all my muscle into at Southside Sox, where I connect, where I make the love matches between Mike Rodolfo and Tommy Barbee and the White Sox, and and everybody ends up happy. What more do we got to talk about with this team? Obviously, no panic, and the team should fatten up pretty well. Again, I think Pittsburgh got its allotment of wins out for the month just in this past weekend against Cleveland. I'm sorry, Cleveland. They kept saying that you just would come up with starting pitching and just would generate it, pick it right off the tree. But apparently maybe that isn't the case. Thank goodness. It only took about 13 pitchers before they finally ran out. And probably me saying that means they will throw some great games against us next year when we play them, because I think we're already done with them this year. But there's a reason for optimism this week, heading into this week, right? They get a chance to take a break Monday and just launch into it and start re-padding that run differential again and ignoring Tony La Russa again.
We can only hope. I'm still pissed I didn't win on my birthday, so fingers crossed this week.
That's rude. Broken win streak. Not winning on the birthday. Crystal's out for some revenge here. This is going to be a rough week. White Sox, you better strap it down. Hey, what was the impression of Gordon? I don't think I hardly listened to him at all. What was the impression of Gordon Beckham doing the booth? They decided to not invite Wimpy Pachorik back, I guess, to sub for Stone or any of the other weirdos that come up with over the years. How was old Bacon?
I think his voice was soothing, but he does not like dead air. And he would just not stop.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, we've got Len and DJ on radio, and then Stoney and Benetti. So it's hard to compare those guys. I thought he was fine, but he was certainly very unpolished. I actually did like him better play-by-play than he is in the studio, and I don't really like him in studio. I don't really like anybody in studio besides Ozzy, to be honest. But he was fine. He's not Steve Stone, which is pretty hard to do.
That's a good point. I think he started off nervous, and like there was no intonation whatsoever in his voice. It was just like this very flat delivery, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a long weekend. But then I think once Jason made him feel comfortable enough to kind of get into the broadcast, it was better. But they still just had some very random side conversations that felt like they just went on forever. And it's like, okay, I know the game isn't that great right now, but let's talk about something else. Like I don't want to talk about the scoreboard padding or what kind of, bush trim they'd have in the center field and like all the other random comments that were coming along as Beckham just kind of observed the ballpark.
It hasn't been that long since we did have to listen to some really, really, really diminished skills.
Very true.
And corn pone accent of Hawk Harrelson. So we really didn't need it right back like 2 years later, but we got it with Gordon Beckham. And listen, NBC 0-4. You don't really need to know anything more. No offense to Gordon Beckham, but you went 0-4 taking over. You gotta sit. You gotta wait your turn for a while. 0-4, and that ain't good. That ain't good, Gordo. Well, I guess that probably, I don't know. I guess that wraps it up. We've solved all the problems for the White Sox. They are ready to shoot back to the top. Crystal's ready to start another winning streak. Darren's probably going to be hopping on with me for their next podcast on Southside Sox, the minor league update, because he likes talking minors. He wears the minor hats. He's always got a different hat. But see, I noticed he repeated a hat when he came on, the Mothership podcast. So we're going to see what he comes up with tomorrow. And Super Joseph going to maybe just stroll through the neighborhood and win a couple more Sox masks. Dig that. Great story. If you didn't read it, well, I guess you missed it, but that was a pretty entertaining one, Joe. And I am not surprised, I will say. And Tommy, my Believe in White Sox partner. Oh yeah, there are other podcasts we do. Sorry, SB Nation, we do other podcasts. The good news is nobody's listening. So, nobody's exactly eating into the Mothership podcast and the big numbers we're doing for SB Nation. Well, listen, we've got a big week come Wednesday. Sharon Sox is talking. I forget the guy's name, but he's a retired professor, big deal in terms of how spin works with baseball, a bunch of physics stuff. But he's going to talk straight up with the Sharon Sox father and son duo about what's going on with the ball, what's going on with spin, what's going on with spider tack. He'll probably solve it all in terms, especially going forward with how baseball is going to try to be less of a home runs and strikeouts game. I will be interested to hear how they are going to go about doing that. Probably getting the commissioner out of the chair will help start, but that's all still coming up this week. Of course, tomorrow we'll have our minor league update, and we're going to have a lot of fun stuff this whole week with podcasts, with coverage. Big winning week for the White Sox coming up. Thank you, Cheryl Chrystal. Thank you, Joseph Resis. Thank you, Darren Black and Tommy Barbee. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening, everybody. Reading, even watching sometimes. Appreciate you joining us for podcast number 47. We'll be back at you probably later in the week with yet another Mothership podcast. And I'm guessing the Indianapolis field office will be part of that too. Thanks, everybody.